Episode 6 is most likely going to be all about Jax, and I've already talked about why, but today I want to put together absolutely everything you need to know about this dude before the next episode drops. We're going to go over every single detail that matters, talk about how he's changed, and how real that change actually is, and of course dive into what might happen to him in episode 6. If you want to support the channel and help it grow, just let this video play in the background while you're out walking, cleaning, getting ready for bed, or doing your own thing. You'd really be helping me out. And in the next 3 days, I'm dropping a whole series of videos about episode 6 that you're definitely gonna love. So do me a favor and watch this one till the end, and then I'll hit you back with something awesome. Alright, let's not drag it out. Let's get into fully understanding Jax. Episode 5 just dropped a major bombshell about Jax, and now we can finally say we know his biggest secret, the one that pretty much explains everything he's ever done or said throughout the entire run of the amazing digital circus. How did it all go down, and what do Gangle and Pomni have to do with it? First, let's go back to that emotional stargazing scene where Jax actually opened up to Pomni, at least for a moment until Regatha showed up and everything shifted.
I didn't think you cared about what other people like.
No, yeah, you're right, I don't.
Do you have any actual friends? Not anymore.
That's when we found out, for the first time, that Jax actually used to have a best friend, the one briefly shown during the intermission. And based on their placement right next to Kaufmo, yeah, let's be real, it's pretty obvious. That friend was turned into an abstracted monster a long time ago, and if you think back to the very first moments of the pilot, we already saw Jax in the form fans grew to love. Blunt, kinda rude, but with that weird charm that made him oddly likable, no matter what awful stuff he said or did. Which means one thing, that character, his old friend, disappeared from the digital circus a long time ago, and it's hard to believe that Jax was always like this.
They broke my comedy mask.
So, Kane, we having a new adventure today for the newbie or what?
And what's super important to point out is that even though a lot of time has passed, this whole topic is still completely off limits, like it's the one thing you absolutely don't bring up around Jax. But Regatha crossed that line, and you can literally see Jax's face change the second she does. Raggy immediately starts apologizing like crazy, clearly realizing she messed up. After that, Pomni tries a few times to dig a little deeper and get some details, but Jax smoothly dodges every single question.
What was that about?
It's nothing. Who cares? Doesn't she get on your nerves sometimes?
So, you wanna talk about that?
I'm in a maid outfit, what do you think?
This is just the backstory to this video, because losing a close friend may have been the spark, but it definitely wasn't the full reason behind Jax's weird, borderline schizophrenic behavior. But what if Jax was always like this? I mean, I could agree with that, but the problem is, we don't actually know what any of these characters were like before we first saw them, so we can only go off the tiny hints the devs have dropped. And I think I found one of those hints in the evil clones of our favorite characters. Take Regatha, for example. If you look at her evil version, then compare it to the real Regatha, they're actually kind of similar. Even before episode 5 dropped, there was a theory floating around that these evil versions are a reflection of the characters' true selves. Like, their real emotions and thoughts they've been hiding behind masks. And if we run with that theory, then Jax was either originally just a quiet, maybe even kind-hearted guy who changed after losing his friend. Or more likely, he's been hiding how he really feels this whole time, and I'm definitely leaning toward that second option, and I'm about to explain why. But first, let's rewind to 1 year ago and take a look at a very specific scene.
We like to have a little funeral service to remember the people who abstract.
We clearly see Jax walking away from Kaufmo's funeral, and at first a lot of people didn't get why the rabbit would act like that, at least not until this moment. If you look closely, you'll notice he actually looks genuinely sad at first, but then there's this flash of bitterness on his face before he storms out of frame. And now, it's obvious. That wasn't some disrespectful move or anything like that. It was plain and simple fear. Fear of feeling those emotions again. Most likely, he ran off, not because he was scared of the funeral itself, but because that one moment instantly brought back the memory of that character. And now, imagine Jax living every single day with real pain, the kind that doesn't fade over time. Like I said before, even mentioning the whole situation only makes things worse for him. And if you look back at pretty much any scene with Jax, they all kind of show the same thing. But for some reason, the one that stuck with me the most was that scene from episode 2.
Maybe when we catch up to them, we could...
Gotta be assertive, like this!
Hey! Jax!
Or take this moment from episode 5.
I'm a New Zealand extremist, and I don't know what New Zealanders threaten people with.
You've got it exactly right. In every one of these scenes, Jax is basically pushing everyone and everything away. And now, here's where it gets really interesting. Like we already figured out, Jax wasn't always such a jerk. All this started happening right after that loss. But the problem was, he didn't really want to share his feelings with anyone. And on the flip side, no one else really tried to understand him either. Over time, that just built up, turning Jax into someone totally unfriendly toward everyone in the digital circus, at least until Pomni showed up. Now you might argue that in the early episodes, Jax was literally roasting her. And you'd be right, but everything changed because of just one scene in episode 4.
How you doing?
Everything's been... I'm doing fine.
Wish I could say the same.
Jax, there's dishes back here. You got time to lean, you got time to clean.
God. I'm on it. Later, Pomni.
After all the, let's say, horrors that Gangle put Jax through, something just clicked inside him, and for the first time, this dude actually approached a conversation calmly and rationally. And Pomni's reaction said more than 1,000 words. She was genuinely surprised because she'd always seen Jax as that classic troublemaker you just don't want to deal with. But here he was, a level-headed character she could actually have a real talk with. It was like in that moment, Jax realized he couldn't keep going like this and felt something inside him. A feeling that Pomni might be the one to pull him out of the swamp that he and his so-called environment had trapped him in. If you think about it, these two characters actually have a lot in common, and the fact that their conversation during stargazing went so well says a lot. By the way, that's exactly when Pomni realized Jax was a genuinely sane person you could talk to about anything, and judging by that final scene, they definitely found common ground. Too bad for Ragatha in this situation, but we'll definitely get to her later. Now you've got a clear picture of what Jax felt, what he went through, and how he ended up like this, and it's time to reveal a pretty big secret. After all, everyone knows that Jax, let's say, doesn't hold back when it comes to anyone.
You don't want to mess with the new AI, Zuby?
Yeah, no.
So what was it like being stuck with the nutcase?
It wasn't that bad, actually.
Hey, take it easy.
Oh, take it easy, that's you.
But for some reason, Gangle became Jax's #1 target, and I've got a few theories about why. First off, Jax might see a reflection of his lost friend in Gangle. We don't really know what kind of jokes or banter they had between them, but maybe they used to mess with each other a lot. After the loss, and considering everything I've already told you, Jax's sense of humor and ability to be reasonable probably got twisted, and eventually it all escalated into what we're seeing now.
Ah, just like Mom used to make.
Which door should we choose?
Not sure. Let's try this out.
Or maybe during one of the past adventures, Gangle did something similar to what she did to Jax in episode 4, and that's what eventually led his friend to become an abstracted monster, and now Jax is just getting revenge on her in his own twisted way. Either way, I'm more than sure that Gangle is somehow connected to that character. Maybe after that whole incident, she became the quiet, closed-off person we know now. Of course, this is all just theory. No one knows for sure, but considering we now understand that deep down Jax is actually a good guy, then yeah, his so-called obsession with Gangle definitely didn't come out of nowhere. And now let's take a closer look at how Jax interacts with Pomni.
Also, she's dumb and she looks weird.
Think we all look weird.
Excuse you, this is what peak male performance looks like. My ears and tail are kind of the pinnacle of masculinity.
You don't have a tail.
What are you talking about? Yes, I do. What the? Where's my tail? How long have I not had my tail?
I have never seen you with a tail.
When would that?
I kinda liked the low stakes ones.
I thought the first two were awesome. The rest, eh. Oh yeah, Pomni. I can show you that thing in the hall I was talking about.
Oh yeah, sure.
But what if it's not Gangle who reminds Jax of his old friend? What if it's actually Pomni? And what if all those so-called insults and teasing were really just his way of testing her, trying to see how much she resembles that person? That would explain why, out of everyone in the digital circus, Pomni's the only one Jax genuinely wants to talk to now. Maybe he's finally trying to break free from the chains and fears that have been holding him back from being his real self. And I'm pretty sure episode 6 is only going to dive deeper into this storyline and reveal way more than we know right now. Right now, Jax is just an insecure character doing everything he can to hide his true self behind this tough guy act. But does he really need to keep doing that? That's pretty much the heart of Jax's biggest secret, one that's tangled up in all kinds of misunderstandings and hidden emotions. Still, by doing what he did, Jax finally took a step in the right direction, and I truly believe he can lay that secret to rest, along with all the fear and pain that's haunted him for so long. Throughout the whole episode, we clearly saw how the bond between Pomni and Jax kept getting stronger and stronger, and while at first Pomni was kind of suspicious about it, over time she started to really understand Jax, and by the end, it's obvious she fully trusts him now. We also remember how Jax reacted when someone brought up his old friend.
Do you have any actual friends?
Not anymore.
And we also remember how he kept trying to dodge the question the whole time.
What was that about?
It's nothing. Who cares?
So, you wanna talk about that?
I'm in a maid outfit. What do you think?
And now that we've figured out Jax's whole main arc, it's finally time to break down episode 6. In that very last scene, we saw Jax and Pomni heading off somewhere, and I'm pretty sure that's exactly where Jax's storyline is going to kick off. I honestly think the episode will open with a conversation between Pomni and Jax, where the bunny finally tells her the full truth about his best friend who's been gone from the digital circus for a while now. And I'm also pretty sure that for like half the episode, we're gonna see Jax becoming more and more normal, almost like a totally sane version of himself without any of those rage outbursts.
What the heck? Who did this? You! Jax, you're up to bat. I don't wanna. I quite look like this though.
Or all that bullying he kept throwing at the other residents of the digital circus.
Which door should we choose?
Not sure. Let's try this out. Hey, Gangle, you should ram into him.
What?
You should not ram them. Pomni's still on board.
Be assertive, like this.
Jax!
But of course we all remember that so-called leak where Goose confirmed that episode 5 was basically the end of peaceful times in the digital circus. And starting from episode 6, we're gonna see full-blown chaos and madness. And here's why Jax is gonna be the one to kick it all off. As the new episode unfolds, we're gonna dive deeper into Jax's past and, which I'm honestly hyped about, finally find out why he's so scared of corn and whether there's actually a connection between Jax and Ragatha, or if all those theories about them being siblings were just a clever trick from the show's creators. Cause honestly, they got a lot of stuff in common, and I already dropped a whole video on that theory. At the same time, we'll be learning more and more about Ribbit, and obviously all that's gonna come up during his convos with Pomni. And honestly, Pomni's gonna play a huge role in episode 6 when it comes to Jax, cause she's the one he sees as his new best friend now. Maybe the way Pomni acts and thinks reminds Jax of his old friend, and that's exactly why she's the only one he actually treats with respect.
I was an accountant for a supermarket chain.
A supermarket? How'd you end up here?
Well, I sometimes got bored of things, and I would seek out mild thrills, like exploring abandoned buildings, and posting videos of it online.
Ah, a YouTuber.
Not really. Nobody watched them.
But I couldn't stop thinking about how Jax, the new adventure, and the madness that's gonna start in episode 6 are all connected. And I think I finally found the answer. In episode 5, we got a glimpse of Jax's preferences, and please, lock those scenes in your head for later.
In today's episode of Poach Everything, I'm going to be hunting the critically endangered red ribbon rhinoceros. Ah, just like Mom used to make. Oi, mate! I'm an Australian extremist, and I've come to detonate this bomb that'll release all the world's deadliest spiders into... Did I pick a bad time?
Know what New Zealanders threaten people with?
Putting these scenes together with what we know from leaks, it's clear that the new adventure will be chosen by Jax, and it's going to be the craziest one in the history of the digital circus so far. Maybe that line is a hint at this, since in episodes 4 and 5, we slowly figured out that now the adventures aren't created by Kane, but by the circus residents themselves. I see the scene like this. Someone announces the new adventure, and then Jax says that line, and they ask him to name his own adventure. Kane likes it, and all the characters set off on Jax's dangerous adventure. Like I said before, Pomni will play a big role in episode 6, and I have a theory that Jax might have designed this adventure to finally confirm that Pomni really is, so to speak, Ribbit's reincarnation. But as usual in the digital circus, something's gonna go wrong and Pomni will start acting totally different from what Jax planned, which will only convince him once again that no one can replace that one true friend, and so you could say he'll lose his best friend all over again. That might be the kickoff for the madness Gooseworx promised us. But of course, things could go the other way, and Jax might actually turn into a more grounded character who's not just funny to watch, but genuinely enjoyable without all the constant mocking and mean jokes. And honestly, that path even seems more logical, cause both we and Jax clearly understand that Pomni isn't Ribbit and he'll never be able to replace him, or her, with anyone else. But finding some kind of peace through Pomni seems totally real, cause if you look close, Pomni actually gets Jax and she's clearly interested in talking to him and being around him. So, yeah, I feel like in episode 6, Jax might become more of a sane character and we won't see him messing with others as much. But of course, all of this is just theory for now. Anyway, I'm curious, which one of these theories do you trust more? Let me know in the comments. But even if we stick to the theory that Jax is going to become a more grounded character, the fact that some kind of madness is definitely coming, and it's most likely tied to Jax, doesn't exactly fit that calm storyline. But hey, y'all remember that mannequin that's been lurking around for a while and finally got some focus in episode 5? I got this feeling that it's definitely connected to Jax. And a lot of digital circus fans are dead convinced that this mannequin might actually be Jax's secret friend. What if he suddenly shows up, says he's Ribbit, and reveals some wild truth he learned about the digital circus? That could set off a full-blown chain reaction and kick off a straight-up revolution inside the digital circus, throwing everything into total chaos.